Welcome back to Off-Season Outlook. Today I'm going to be going over a prospect who I believe has been criminally underrated heading into this next college football season. Someone who I expect will see a significant rise in their draft stock as we get closer and closer to the draft. This player is Nyck Harbor, South Carolina wide receiver. He was number one on Bruce Feldman's freak list in back-to-back years. That was his freshman and sophomore year, the only prospect to ever achieve that feat, and he was third as a junior. So he's a mainstay on that list. And it makes sense. He's 6'5", 242, and ran a 10.1 100-meter and 20.2 200-meter for South Carolina's track team, which earned him second-team All-American honors, competing against athletes who are 60, 70 pounds lighter than him. He very fittingly has a 99 speed rating in EA's College Football 27 and reached 23.6 miles per hour on the GPS. 23.6. For reference, Jahmyr Gibbs, who was 40 pounds lighter and 8 inches shorter, had the fastest tracked speed this following season in the NFL, which was 22.23 miles per hour, over a full mile per hour faster, was Nyck Harbor. This offseason, he reportedly measured in with a body fat percentage of 5%. 5%. You might as well call him Ronnie Coleman. Listen, one of the reasons he hasn't been looked at as a top prospect, someone who's going to go in rounds 1 or 2 of this upcoming draft, is that he had very limited production in his 3 years on the Gamecocks roster. But I have to attribute some of that to the fact that Harbor didn't even go through spring practice with the Gamecocks, as he was with the track team full-time until June. He's had continuous improvement every year of college football, and last year he took in 30 receptions for 618 yards. That's 20.6 yards per reception, 2 more yards than anyone else in the SEC, and he hauled in 6 touchdowns. Listen, he's a certified deep threat, and he can add more to his game. He also improved as a run blocker every season, a trait which is becoming increasingly important in the NFL, especially with heavy personnel packages. His PFF run block grade has gone from 48 to 57 to 70 across his 3 years. Now, with the full spring practice and some years of chemistry under his belt with Lenora Sellers, who is also a projected first-round pick just for his physical tools, Nyck Harbor should be in for a huge season for the Gamecocks. Another reason I expect his draft stock to soar as we get closer to the 2027 draft is that he's a dying breed in college football. He's a fourth-year player at the same school who's gotten better with each season. We've seen the value of one school players reflected in past NFL drafts, and this is due to the fact that NFL scouts are charged with building 3 to 4 years' worth of a profile on a player, but now these players transfer usually once, sometimes twice, and that creates a real gap in the information, and assistant coaches don't know them as well. They don't have the same depth of character evaluation that maybe you had before, which leads their stock to suffer. Also, if a prospect is constantly moving around college football, rightfully or not, it sends the message that their professional goals are less important than maximizing their earnings in college football, which for many exceeds what they could be making while fighting for a roster spot in the NFL. And listen, that just reflects poorly. Simply put, it reflects poorly on NFL general managers and their scouting reports. It's not entirely a mystery why there hasn't been more hype around Nyck Harbor entering this season, as he's usually mocked in the 3rd round, and that's at the high end. He's declined all media opportunities with local South Carolina reporters this spring, so I'm assuming it's possible he's also turned down off-season interviews and podcast spots with media people who operate outside the Gamecocks bubble as well. He didn't enter South Carolina this way. He was the 5-star freshman who picked South Carolina over schools like Michigan and Oregon. But he was incredibly raw coming on because he was playing a brand new position as well. In high school, he took snaps at tight end and D-end, which speaks to his athletic prowess. But his freshman year was the Xavier Legette breakout super senior year, where he caught nearly 3 times as many passes as every other wide receiver on the Gamecocks roster. So that was clouding his presence on the team. But now, with all the experience he has under his belt and the full off seasons as well, it's Nyck Harbor's time. What I'm also excited for is his increased presence in the slot. His first 2 seasons in South Carolina, he saw 88% of his snaps coming from purely out wide, with 12% from the slot. But in this past year, that nearly doubled to 22% of snaps coming from the slot, meaning Harbor is being used in a more versatile fashion. I'm also excited about new offensive coordinator Kendall Briles, who was recently hired from TCU, where the Frogs produced back-to-back 1,000-yard receivers in 2024 and 2025. That was being Jack Beck and Eric McAllister, while Josh Hoover, the recent Indiana transfer, set the school's single-season passing record in 2024. Browse is bound to unlock Harbor and Sellers in tandem. He's going to be great for both of them. He also has SEC experience from his time at Arkansas, so he's familiar with the defenses he's going to be going up against. We've seen coaches try to come into the SEC and replicate offenses that they've run in the ACC, in the Big Ten, in the Big 12, and it just has not translated. So I'm very glad that SEC experience is in Browse's background. There is no doubt that having some structure within the offense with this new OC will help Harbor's production, as last season he had to deal with the midseason dismissal of his OC, Mike Shula. For all these reasons, I expect Nyck Harbor to burst onto the scenes. Don't be surprised if he's being mocked as a first-round pick not too soon. This has been Offseason Outlook. Thank you very much.